All right, guys, we're kicking off Rolling Thunder episode 2. We're going over kicker products we've had in our past, and we've got a guest with us tonight, Livin Loud with Andy from YouTube. We're gonna go ahead and pop him in. He's in the green room right now. What's happening, buddy? How you doing today, man?
What's going on, Scott? Hey, thank you for having me on today. This is awesome. Talk about kicker products. You know I like them. Heck
First,
yeah,
I know,
man.
yeah, I think you were saying you could go on all day about kicker stuff. The funny thing on that one is episode 1 we kicked it off with previous installs that we had, installs we started out with, and previous product we liked. And I think you came in for the latter part of that show. And the funny thing about that is between three people, it was literally three people that had nothing but all I had was kicker to begin with, and we just raved on about it. So we're like, well, who not better to have the next guest on than yourself? And you've made quite a self for your name, and the not only the kickers recognize you quite on a regular basis. You have your group, the Kicker Club, and you do your YouTube with Living Live with Andy, and which is also entertaining. I think you're going to explode anytime. Just being straight up genuine with you, buddy.
Thank
You
you,
do the
man.
dyno videos and the product reviews, is new and old stuff, and like obviously Kicker even keeps you in the loop on a lot of stuff. So it's like I think you'll see you do good things, man. The
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
For
Definitely
sure.
blessed.
It's cool how it works out like that way, man. If you just grind with it and stick with it, a lot of times anything in life, hard work pays off. And I'm glad to see you get recognized with it. And we'll go ahead and kick it off. We've got you in here today, and we're going to go ahead and go on a pattern of it. I'm going to start off, Andy. So, how long have you been an car audio enthusiast? And then, what got you into it? What was your first setup and things along those lines?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, audio has always kind of been my thing. Started as a kid with a little boom box, and we all had to have the biggest home stereo. And honestly, about a year before I even had my permit, I had my first little setup. It was a Lightning Audio 10 on a Jensen 320 from Target when Target used to sell car audio. So I had that for about a year, and then I upgraded. Ran a dual with the band pass enclosure with the blue plexi lights and everything. And it just started from that. Got the Kenwood bigger amp, and I ran that kind of system since I was 15 to about 24, 25. When I first got the Solo X, though, was back in 2011, almost 12, and had it in a prefab box for a lot of its life. And I ran it on barely any power, and it did great. I had no problems. You can clip it for days. You didn't have any issues, when you don't have that much power. It's
It's
not a
funny how it
problem.
works that way. Yeah, like
Right.
I never blew a sub until I got to like 1,000 plus watts RMS all the time. And before that, never blow a sub. But you were saying though?
Right, right. And that's the thing too, where they're like, oh yeah, it's just breaking in. I had guys tell me, oh, that's just your sub breaking in now that I have a bigger amp on there. No, that was clipping. That was the the glue coming off of the former melting the coil. But yeah, and then as soon as I met a couple Team Imperial guys around the area when I had my first Team SP Loud show in 2016. Not to get off track too much, but I started the car audio shows because I used to go to the car shows doing car audio, and a lot of guys don't always like the loud bass. So I was like, shoot, let me have my own shows. And that's how that started. And then as soon as I had the first one, boom, all the big bangers from Pittsburgh came out. They're like, oh yeah, you think you're loud? Check out this. And it was impressive. And just started from there, from like the bigger builds, the customs. And this build itself here, man, this was a 3-month process between me and my buddy Tony McCartney.
Mm-hmm.
He's an excellent carpenter. I did all the designing of like, okay, I want the floor here. I want the box to be this size, to spec. We had to tweak a few things to get the port in there because a 10-inch arrow with a 14-inch flare is kind of hard to fit on a box that's 14 on the outside down there. So we had to actually flip the arrow port, punch in new holes to drill in because that's actually backwards, and then cut on the bottom because that box inside is like 12 inches in the beginning.
It's
And
huge.
then, yeah.
That is really a big A port.
Yeah, it actually could be bigger. Kicker specs for the max is actually 10 cubes, which that is roughly around 10 cubes. And
I'll be
then the
honest with you,
port,
Andy. I've done a lot of aeroports. I have never done. I'm sorry, airports, slot ports. Never done an aeroport yet.
they're easier because you can adjust things. But
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, I put some bracing in there because the box is kind of tight and I didn't want it to slap. But yeah, the efficiency is just because it's round and all the speed of the wind, if you want to call it that, is going at a, more the same throughout, slower on the outside and faster on the inside, or vice versa. When you have a slot port, unless it's perfectly square, you're going to have areas where there's more chuffing or less chuffing throughout the port. So with the Aero port, I just thought it was cool looking. I actually wanted to go with a 12-inch for more SPL, and that was really what Kicker recommended for the airspace. But I feel like if I would go any more, it would be strictly an SPL car burp one note wonder.
Yeah, well, the same thing. You owe me a Coke, bud. That's cool that you decided to go with that, because I personally too like doing numbers. That's cool and all, but I really want a musical, with some bandwidth.
Right.
And there's no, the proof's in the pudding, because you're obviously doing hair tricks and putting up pretty good numbers with a single subwoofer. And if you don't, I know you're on the lithium now, but about how much RMS power are you throwing that solo? And a lot of people, I'll clear it up now because I've had conversations with people. That's a 2008 model subwoofer. That's not the brand new one, anything like that. You've been slapping Recones on it, upgrade, and there's a Kicker still parts on it, correct?
Until recently, the only thing I upgraded on it was the tinsel leads. The tinsel leads were too short for 14 hertz.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, it was good. Yeah, I'm only putting 2,000 to 2,400 RMS. I'm wired at 1. The KX 2400 does more at 1, but you like you said, you don't see.
Sure.
Right. So when I'm clamping a 150.3 at the kick and a 149.7 at the headrest, I'm only clamping 1,850 watts. So it's going to go up and down from that. So it's not really a 5,000 RMS sub in today's standards. The way they rated that was kind of like not a Rockville, but not where you put 5,000 RMS amp onto it, you're going to see 3,000, 4,000 watts, maybe at a peak. It can handle that with clean power, the right size enclosure. But otherwise, no, it's not a 5,000 RMS coil in today's standards, where Sundown and other brands that actually put a right number on their brands, on their subwoofers, will do that at a continuous frequency over time, which is really hard on a subwoofer anyway. They never used to rate subs that way.
And all branding was, and that's just not a Kicker thing, is doing that. If you took in, for instance, here, I have my birth sheet here. I keep it handy by me all the time. Like now, like when you have these Aero Rockford sheets, they'll do like a peak number here. As soon as it went to that 0708 number, you had like a total watts power number at the bottom. It was some, myth number that it's never going to touch. And they did. I mean, it's just rated. So, like if you had a 2,000 watt amp, whatever, they make it a 2,000 watt arm. I mean, what you mean, yeah.
Right.
But it's still insane though. I love seeing those old school subs still getting it, man. And at what point did you move it into? Now, did you call it the Cookie Monster the whole time, or did it develop that when you went in the shag carpet stuff, or how did that come into play?
Pretty much the shag carpet. It was Cookie Monster version 1. This is actually version 2, but this is the one that everybody knows. So it's Cookie Monster. I did have an enclosure before this. It was a more musical build. It fit in the back seat, or the trunk, should I say, not back seat. It actually fit behind the trunk with the seats up. I use it as a daily, put my kids in the back. Not ideal, but it worked. That's how I rode. So, but yeah, I first just, I wanted to stain the box. I had a friend of mine build it, design it, because I didn't know what I was doing then. And it sounded pretty good. And then what happened was the veneer got wet, and it put a little stain on the box. And I'm like, no, I didn't even get to stain the thing yet. Are you kidding me? I'm like, okay, I'm carpeting it. Shag looks cool. I like shag, and I like blue. Let me go get some blue shag. So me and Kayla, we shagged it. The first shag was, we did it better this time. But so I was in cahoots with Bill Braun at Kicker, but I didn't know who he was then. And I would send him, pictures of what I'm doing, and videos and stuff like that. And eventually he would start to post my stuff. Like the first one he posted was with the original box, and had my daughter sit in front of it. And it was like, wear caution, wear hearing protection, etc.
I have that photo. We'll pull it up in a minute.
Yeah. And so it kind of started from that. People were like, oh, yeah, it's a nice build, Solo X, da-da-da-da-da. And then next thing you know, I carpeted it. And he was like, wow, that looks like something Cookie Monster would drive. And I was like, oh, my God, that's perfect.
That's it.
That's perfect. So that's how I got the name Cookie Monster, Bill from Kicker.
That's pretty cool, man. It's a good feeling, too, when they share your stuff. Like and obviously you have too, but we've all got that one spot where that one big company, doesn't even have to be the car audio stuff, shares your post or likes or whatever. You're like, oh yeah, they recognize
Right.
me, and it's
Right.
cool to get the recognition when it's something hard you worked on, especially when you're really proud of it. And
Heck yeah.
yeah, man, that's cool. And actually, and I'll be straight up with you. Like I've had a couple of interactions, and talked to Kip in the streams all the time, and I hung out personally with John Myers, and like a totally random encounter at a car audio shop, and
Seen
like
that.
they've been nothing but crazy nice and supportive on everything. You know what I mean? So it's like nothing but tons of respect for them. That's why another reason we had to do it today is because we've had tons of great experience in the past with their product, man. So like we've almost got your video coming to here. I'll let it keep going, but
Yeah.
and I think it's pretty roundabout that everyone, for the most part, I believe, generally speaking, has had some kind of kicker product, and more people than not you speak to or not, they've never really had a bad issue with it. Like the first subwoofer, I mean, like you saw the post the other day, like the first kicker comp 10 that I was the first speaker I ever brought new and all that stuff, and I was so proud of it. And it's the same thing with that. Like I'm sure that amp, I mean, I straight up just, oh, game sounds right, and just went with it. And
Right.
there's no telling, it's probably clipped the whole entire life of it, and it took the beans. And
Hell yeah.
a lot of that stuff, man, like I knew buying it, for instance, I'm a Rockford guy too, but I couldn't afford the Rockford price tag at the time. I knew for a fact though, if I'm getting this 350 by 1 or 400 by 4 or whatever it be, the kicker product, I know for a fact though that I'm getting my rated power on this and it's going to sound good. So
Right.
I think it's
Absolutely.
a pretty reliable choice for everyone. And especially like once you get into the higher end subwoofers, I think the first loud setup that I thought I had was that Kicker CVX 15 and a Honda
Ooh.
Civic hatchback, and I had it on like maybe 500 watts RMS at the time, and I remember having no deadener or bracing the car and flexing the roof and the windshield and stuff. And there was literally one gentleman that came in and he was like, this I'm gonna throw up, get me out of this. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Even then,
Right.
but it's pretty fun.
Heck yeah, man. Those CVXs were nice. My buddy John Ickes used to have one. That's who I actually got my first kicker off of, was John Ickes. He had a 12L7 I wound up buying off of him, but he got me into kicker because he was the one actually running it. He had the 12 by itself in a tiny sealed box. It sounded pretty good. And then he upgraded to a 15L7. And then after that, he went to the CVX, and he liked the CVX the most. But
Yeah, I had the CVX, and that's just some random prefab box that I had at this other shop that I worked at, and that thing I just gave it the beans, and it was good. The
heck yeah.
we'll go back to your stuff here. We had the 148. That was probably pretty solid, and this is a while back, correct? Right here. I mean, at 50 hertz.
Yeah, this is actually a current vehicle, but this is Kayla's car. We
What?
both have matching cars, me and my girl.
I completely brain fucked on that, man. I'm sitting here, I'm putting these photos together for the night, and I'm like, at what point was this in the car? Because I'm like putting the timeline together about if Andy's
Yeah,
built, and I'm like, this doesn't fit,
yeah,
but I'm gonna go put it in there. But that's all. So that being your lady's car, so that's kind of ravishing there. She could do as a 148 on a daily base right there.
right.
But
Yeah, she had a small setup. She had a Kicker 10-inch comp, like the one from Walmart, and then she had that ZX5, or yeah, the ZX5 50.2 that I just amp dynoed in her car. Way too big of an amplifier, but I had it dialed down and it sounded good. It was like an SQ kind of build. She's like, I want to be louder. This doesn't even sound like I got bass in here. I'm like, okay. So she wanted to be like around a 145, and I happened to have two L7s laying around and two CX 1800s. And I had that actually in my Geo Metro, and I pretty much just took that system and threw it in her car. So now that's hers. The Geo is just, I kind of downgraded it to a JLW3, if you call that a downgrade, on an Alpine MRP 500. But yeah,
probably give her
that's
a
just
little more room.
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, she puts the kids in the car once in a while, but it's kind of just, we got a Honda Pilot, so she wants to keep her sports car just like everybody. I ain't getting rid of mine until I'm 40, so, she doesn't want to get rid of that car, and she wants to have a little bit of bass, but now we
Oh,
got
for
to get
sure.
her some mids and highs. That's the thing. She got a stock head unit, so, all that bass. You got to be able to hear the music too.
Drown it out probably pretty quick with that, yeah. And I
Yeah,
thought
look
this
at
would
me.
kick. Everyone's been there, man. Everyone's been at a point where they had the home bookshelf speakers tucked somewhere in there. I had to do this one because I did the same thing. I had a Nissan hardbody. I put a Clarion Pro Audio like 1997 CD player with the copper chassis and all that stuff. I had it's like Rockford 6.5s in the doors, and I had a pair of like Polk bookshelf 5 1/4 speakers that like fit perfectly sideways behind the single cab back seats. And I'm
Jeez.
like, I am doing it. And I had to throw that one in there.
Heck yeah.
And look at this. I mean, we're gonna take in on this note right here. We actually have our co-host that made it in. He was doing an install, and he's also a Honda guy. And I'm gonna bring this guy in so we can just talk about this glorious CB7, the dual band box, and the other 12 going there. We got Casey going ahead and popping in. I didn't think he was gonna make it. Casey
He's here.
But
what's going on, Casey? Happy to be here, man.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
So we'll start it off going back to early builds. Dual box. You're putting the third speaker in. You rocked them both, I'm sure. What kind of amp do we have on those? There's a head unit power. What's going on here?
Yeah, I actually had a Kenwood 9103D hooked up to the duals, but you know how it is. You want a little bit more bass, and you find a speaker and you throw it in. And you don't know how you're wiring it, parallel or series. You're just jamming the wires in there until it shuts off. I think I had it hooked up like that for a while, but you couldn't really tell the difference. I always had like a knacking for what sounded louder, what sounded better, but didn't really know what the heck I was doing. So
that's
I like
good.
Adidas.
Yeah, that was my first car. That was my mom. She gave to me, but that's the car that I had when I was 15. Didn't even have a license.
Yeah, the CB7.
What?
Yeah.
What's that? The bazooka tuba thing?
Oh
No,
the
the
CB7 is the body style of the Accord. Yeah, that's the.
That's not a Honda. That's a Ford Escort. Even worse.
What? This whole time I thought it was a Honda Accord.
Yep.
No, I see
Sorry.
now in the taillights. No, it's fine. No, it's an Escort. It's fine too.
Boxy
But we got
little
the
thing.
We got the boom cannon on it. I bet it was probably fine, man. Was it a manual or auto?
It was an automatic, unfortunately, but I had, the green dice up front and the gold covered steering wheel, with the fart can. I didn't know what I was doing at that point. But hey,
dude,
it was the
it's
first
not
car.
easy. Somebody's got to do it. I like the War Eagles. That's a football like Chesapeake War Eagles around here.
Yeah,
that.
Heck yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. That's my Christian school I used to go to from like 8th grade to 11th grade, and then I transferred to play football for Norwin. That was the worst mistake I made.
Oh, wow.
Should have just stayed there, ended up. But hey, I wanted to play football. They wouldn't let me play unless I went to their school, so makes sense. But that was a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, it's for sure like that. It's kind of funny how it goes that way. I like that. We've got a few installs here. We got, boom. This was the first all kicker install I did. I did the shallow kicker sub. Look at that sweet, gauge gears and the front forward head. I had the kicker. I think that was a 350 by 1. I want to say on the shallow sub, tucked up in a single cab S10. We did that. I had a few other setups like that. Casey's big rise to fame was the original solo sub, and
I think slammed. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about that last stream.
Yeah, that silver one. Heck yeah.
We got it next to base. It's kind of funny how huge that is.
Too. I was like, this looks okay, and then it just worked out.
It's kind of funny. I think, man, I remember doing that stuff. Like guessing box specs. Like making a port. You're like, this looks good.
Yeah.
But
right.
Look long enough. You don't want to make it too long, but not too short either. Like it just works.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it looks
right,
to what I've seen before. Someone do it.
Yeah, I didn't really mess with box designing until after I had my first design for me. And then I started messing with my original Solo Xbox by literally putting pieces of wood in the port because the port was huge. It was tuned to 55 hertz. Okay, this is a prefab for Solo X. It was only 3 cubes, tiny. And but it had 20 square inches per cube, so around 60 square inches of port area. So I kind of shrinked it down and then rebaffled it. And that's kind of how I got the idea of, how big of a port do you need via the size of the enclosure. And with other enclosures too after that. But that's how I kind of learned. I didn't really have anyone holding my hand, hey, other than the 12 to 16 square inches per cube rule that does not apply for anything except prefabs, I swear to God.
Oh, for sure. It's all a learning experience, man.
My 15-inch platinum box that I had was 14 square inches of port per cube, and it was like 2 3/4 cubes per sub for 15. It did really well.
Right, yeah, that's kind of a smaller size for a 15, so then you need that bigger port. Definitely.
Yeah, it did really well. Sounded great.
Right. That's why prefabs are like that, That's why they sell them every day.
The musical bandwidth of it too, I'm sure, it's not in the higher range. But Casey, we'll go ahead and hammer you with some stuff, man. Now that you're in on the conversation, this guy's been doing installs for a decade plus. He's had, handfuls upon handfuls upon handfuls of installs of his own. The what makes you choose Kicker to sell to a customer, and then personally buying it? What experience have you had, or good product you've had with it, other than your Kicker solo set we were talking about last time?
Oh man, Kicker is just one of those things you trust it. Like you can throw it in their car and they're not going to come back like, oh, I'll do this. Even if they I've had customers mess with the amp settings, like your sub's still fine. Like, oh, it sounds weird. Can you retune it? I messed with it and it's like still fine. They're just beating the crap out of it. But so the biggest thing for me is like reliability and also price. The new KS speakers, we've been using those a lot for like factory upgrade speakers. They've been great. Even the CS are good if they're like in a lower budget. But most of our customers have a little higher budget to work with here. So the KS, and then if I can get it, QS. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the QS stuff's awesome, by the way. A lot of people don't even know that QS exists. That stuff's amazing. Yeah, especially like the Bluetooth, like with the DSP and everything. You can do everything from your phone. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, with the Q class, the amplifiers. Yeah, oh yeah, they're nuts.
Yeah.
I never had the QS speaker line. That's the only one I haven't tried. They're expensive, but for sound quality, I bet you they're spot on.
Yeah, they sound really good. You can they have a lot of tonality. You can change, make them sound however you want. But you shouldn't like force a speaker to do something that's not natural. But they really did have a lot of different ways. Like you could really tune it and get it to where you want it.
Right, for sure. I know. When I was at Slamology 2 years ago, I was demoing for like 5 hours, and one of my tinsel leads snapped, and that's why I extended those. So I was all bummed out and everything, and because obviously they were like, if we had a Solo X, we'd give you one, but we don't have any. So they were like, you'll be okay. You got those KS 6x9s in the front. They sound like H. Just take off the low pass filter or high pass filter and just send it. Trust us. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. They sound great. For darn sure.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do look good, and that's the thing. I've been joking about before, like the Kicker product. I like it too because, like, for a fact it's going to work. If you put it in a customer's install, you buy it. Like I made the joke before, like there's a guy who's going to take and go plug that into a cigarette lighter and run it off of 9 volts, and it's going to turn on and make sound come out of it. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. And again, we was talking about doing hair tricks with solo stuff. It's crazy too that they still even support your subwoofer. Like I'm assuming you're buying root cones still from Kicker, or you just extending the tinsel leads still, or no? Or are you going custom at this point, or what?
I bought one off of them. It was one of the last 4 I believe they had. That was 2017, but that was before the coils. That was my first one that was actually right here, this red one. That's why it doesn't have the fancy decal, because I actually had it plastered on the wall, but I only have 3 ones in the car. So, and I just put that in. But yeah, I bought one because the coil went when I put on the Shark 3500, and obviously I didn't have enough electrical to support it. Plus I was sending it too far, and it was a dual 4, and I was wired at 2 ohms, so I was trying to get way too much out of it, and blew a hole right through the coil. Just say that much. It's dumb.
I know how that is.
Yeah, so I called them. They sent me one. And that was after I already went through this other guy. I tried buying one used, said he replaced it. He fixed the tinsel lead inside of the coil, ran it for about a week, and then that part that he fixed came undone. And I was ranting and raving. He's like, "Oh, just send it back to me. I'll give you your money back." So I lost about $100 of shipping. So then I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just buying one off a Kicker. I hope they have one. And they actually had them laying around. Now they're gone. Travis Young scarfed them all up because he had 4 in his Jeep back in the day. So whenever this one over here, this is the one that I purchased off of them. And that's the one that Steve Irby actually got to hear. So that's why I had him sign that one right there. And the tinsel lead broke at Slamology. And I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do with this kind of stuff. Maybe my buddy can fix it for me. And in the meantime, Travis Young hooked me up. He hooked me up. We'll say that. And then
Very good.
That's the one that's in the car right now. And yeah, so I got 2. What's that?
Is it all stock components?
They were stock components. The videos that you see, that was all stock components, stock coil, stock suspension. That's why it does so well. It got a light suspension. It's not overly dampened. But no, recently I just upgraded the tinsel leads because they were snapping. They were literally being pulled so far where the plastic, like the rubber, because they're older, yeah, it was just kinking and just snapping the tinsel lead.
So you
can't be mad at that.
Direct leads now?
No, I didn't do direct leads because I didn't want to mess. I don't know why Seth didn't do that, honestly, but I think he didn't want to mess with the spider because my spiders aren't very. One's very brittle. It's from age. And then the other one's a little bit better, but from flexing 14 hertz and all that, I'm going X mech. I'm going past mechanical limit or whatever. It's really putting stress on the suspension, but it's still going. But that's why I had him do the leads. But with the sewn-in ones, I don't know if he wanted to do that or not. I think there was a problem why he didn't. But what he did was he literally just made them a little bit longer, not too long where they're not like slapping off the back of the cone, but just long enough where they're not getting tension.
Full tight, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You can think about it too. When that sub came out in 2008, they weren't doing demos at sub 20 hertz.
No, not like that. No.
Yeah.
No. I told Jeremy Brown because he's like a designer, one of their main designers for like their drivers and stuff like that. And I was telling him, I was like, well, I thought it was a good idea. I'm like, the FS is like 24 hertz or something. He's like, yeah, it just, when we designed it, it kind of just happened to be that way, but we did not design it for that. We designed it for like 50, 55 hertz, 5 to 10K burp. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened to be a musical sub because that's what Kicker does. You look at the new L7X, like, yeah, it's comparable to the Sundown, but it's still going to have a lot of the features that are from like the Q class and the L7S, where they still have very good mechanical control, I guess you could say. I'm not a designer, but I just know how they make their stuff and as efficient as they can to have a 3-inch driver on it.
It mentioned the new ones that are releasing. I don't know when, but are you going to be running one of those?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
They got
a few. They have a few things.
Because I missed the whole beginning of this. But like, what do you have now? And like, what do you meter your peak? Or did you share all that yet?
Okay. No, I didn't really get too much into that actually. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. With the Solo X right now, it's got the KX 2400.1 wired onto a 1 ohm. I'm clamping 1850 to like 1900 watts. Doing a 150.3 at 32 hertz in the kick.
Wow.
And then it's stupid low. And then
that's great.
49.7 at the headrest at 32, same power.
A lot of people can't hit 150 with 415s, you know.
Shut up, Casey. Don't talk like that, Casey.
Efficiency. That's what it is, I guess.
Scott drives the school bus too.
Yeah. Also, the floating windows. Like once you get like above like 145 dB in the excursionless floating windows, they just like go out, and you can like feel a fan around the windows.
You can feel the wind coming out of the back windows.
Heck yeah, it does a 146 at 17 at the headrest. That was when I first got it running. I need to retest. I got more power to it, and with the new leads, it's going farther. It's making more wind.
So we got into that. We got you SPO competing. At what point did you start? Sorry. What were you saying, Casey?
The numbers you got for like the money that would cost is crazy. Like a lot of people spend a ton of money chasing the 150, and he's like, you throw this in there, 150, 32.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. And that's the one thing I didn't have was money. I had a little bit of knowledge, and what I had was what I had, and I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on electrical and amplifiers and walling it because it's, if you put a wall, you're going to need more power.
You're automatically in a big boy class, automatically.
Right. Yeah.
But so when you were doing this, what made little tiny Andy, what made you like, I'm going to get Kicker, and then you just went with it? Like, what made you decide? I was going on earlier about how I knew when I was buying Kicker amps early on because I was on a budget, I knew I was getting rated power with the Kicker amps. That made me know I'm doing good with these. What was it for you?
Right. I kind of got forced into it, but it was a good thing. Back in 2011, when I got the Solo X, I just had an L712 with 2 Alpine Type Rs, and I had on 2 different boxes, 2 different amps. I was learning, but I was happy with that. My friend Nate Brink had this sub over here, on a Sony Explode 600 watt 2-channel. Okay, so I'm like, dude, you got a Solo X? He's like, yeah, man, I've had it for a while, and I had the Warhorse, but I had to sell the amp. And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. Can I try that sub? I got like a 2,000 watt amp. Let me try it. And he was like, okay, dude, yeah, let me bang some of your stuff in the meantime, and then we'll swap back. I'm like, awesome, cool. So I gave him pretty much all the subs and the amp, and I hooked up some stuff for him, and I threw his setup in my car, and I was like, it's louder, but with that crappy box he had, it didn't sound that good. So I was like, okay, whatever. About a month goes by, not even. I get a call or a text, I think it was Facebook back then, and my buddy's like, hey, did you sell so-and-so your Type R? Because he's got it. I'm like, who? No, Nate has it. He's like, no, it's in so-and-so's car's truck now. And I'm like, what? So I call Nate. I'm like, dude, are you selling my crap? He's like, yeah, man, no one could buy the Solo X18. No one wanted to pay $600 for it. Your stuff was easier to sell.
And you're like, well, thanks.
Yeah, at the time I was kind of like, well, great. I always wanted a Solo X, but there goes my system. Okay, cool, whatever. And yeah, and I had it ever since. And I just seen him literally a week ago at the car show that I was just at. And it's like kind of salty. It's like bittersweet, you know. But at the same time, it's like, thank you, bro. Never would have had one.
Like that. Dude, I honestly never would have expected that to be the story of how Andy got into kicker. Somebody swapped his crap with him and threw him a kicker sub, and then dude, at what point is it considered an addiction at that point then, Andy? Because you just like took it seriously and went L7 in a solo from there, buddy.
Heck yeah, man.
So at first you were saying you got the sub in, and I'm assuming that's when you're talking about it didn't sound that good. You need a better box. And now, I'm assuming, I know you're lithium now, so you're not stock alternator anymore. I'm assuming, no.
Nope, got a Ohio Gen 320 amp.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they hooked me up. They try to get the most out of that little car. The only thing is bad is the idle. When I drop around 500-600 RPMs, man, it's like nothing. But then if I give it a little tap, I'm perfect. But heck yeah, it's like weird because I always wanted to have more electrical, and I kind of got away with what I had, try to play it clean as I could, but I could never really send it like you see in the videos 24/7. And since I got that lithium and the high output alternator, I can go full tilt boogie, like Kip says. Full tilt.
Oh, for sure. I've been stealing that one too.
Nice and clean. I love it.
I just went full on with my alternator setup too.
Heck yeah.
What's happening, Vega? Isn't it crazy when you swap to lithium? Everything in your car works better. Casey was telling it to me, like my truck started faster, my lights were brighter, all that stuff. I've kept higher voltage. Now, what amp hour lithium do you have in your car hour now?
That's two JY HP40s. They're rated at 40 amp hour at 2C. So, but they have a continuous discharge at I think 200 amps, and then a max at 400, and that's just battery power.
Are those the black case LTO JYs?
Silver. They're the LIFEPO4s, the lithium phosphate, iron phosphate.
I know exactly what you're talking. Yeah.
They look really nice, and you got the blue around them and stuff like that. I was eyeballing it the other day.
So you're like 14.8 volts, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can technically run them on a stock alternator. So that's kind of why I have the stock regulator, and I just did a battery delete. I could run an AGM up front with it because they rest at 13.3, 13.4 like an AGM would, but all my AGMs are old. They're sitting at 12.8, so.
Yeah, you probably see it dragging you down more, honestly, throwing the AGM back in there than leaving it out.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. When they start combining the AGM and the lithium, it's like, hey, dude, your lithium bank's probably better by itself.
Exactly.
Because whatever one has the higher reserve capacity is what it's going to draw it down to. But that's pretty awesome though, man. So like, are you noticing? I guess since you have 80 amp hour, technically it's not so bad. Were you noticing a big difference going from the AGM to lithium? Like, oh crap, I can kill my battery now on accident, like leaving the lights on or something like that.
Right? Yeah, because they won't desulfate or destroy themselves from whatnot. But yeah, I keep it on a charger majority of the time. But with these lithiums, I guess with the iron phosphate, they really don't like to be 100% state of charge. I guess it's more stress on them.
Yeah, you don't keep it at the resting voltage really unless you're using it.
For sure.
Right. And it's hard to tell because the resting voltage is between 13.2 to 13.4 from 30% to 100% state of charge, and you don't want to keep it too low. So I kind of just charge it before I can go into a show, play, drive, park it, let it go. And then if it drops too low, throw it on a charger. Yeah. But they're supposed to last long.
A lot of people now, especially when you're AGM, like big time AGM, like a lot of people underestimate, like, oh, I'm letting my alternator do it. I think it was EXO did a video, like once you got to like 500 amp hours, something like that, it took like X amount of hours for it to charge an alternator to charge the battery bank. So like I always try. Now it wasn't so much the lithium, but when AGM, like you need to be charging. Yeah,
Exactly.
So even if you have a 300 amp alternator, if your truck's taking 50 amps, 70 amps of it, and you're running electronics and fans and AC and stuff, you're not really charging that battery that much.
That's what's crazy. Yeah, the batteries can only discharge and recharge 20% of their AH value, like an AGM.
Right. It's
That's
a weird
nuts.
chemistry, man. It's really close to like what AGM does, but I mean, I think it's a lot more powerful at the end of the day.
Yeah, higher output per amp hour.
Yeah. Right. And
you can do a higher charge rating too.
Mm-hmm.
On that. Heck yeah.
I'm running LT.
Yeah, he's got 140 amp hour, and I'm
going to be doing the same. The way mine's set up, I can actually show you. You want me to show you? Get the shot. Come on.
Vega's saying the lithium can be a headache and a daily driver if you need a higher charge. It really depends on what battery you have, though. Vega, like he was saying, his can be used on a stock all. A lot of people really overcomplicate that, man. More times than not, with today's batteries and the way they're made for consumers, you're literally just taking out your AGM and placing back a lithium in its place. And I personally say, I think in the next 5 years we will see like vehicles like 2000 and above start seeing underhood replacements that are lithium batteries instead of AGM.
They got them. Excess power. For sure. For sure, I think. I'm
talking about for like you see it in mom and pop repair shops. They're keeping Group 34 lithium batteries on the shelf ready to sell. I'll be willing to bet it's happening.
Oh, it will, because you see Tesla. They already have all their vehicles lithium. I mean, I think they started, or at least hybrids in general, started with AGM batteries, and they were very heavy. Lithium is definitely the future. It's just which kind of chemistry you want to go with. I don't know. I'm learning about it. That's why I went with the JY HP40s. I mean, obviously, I'm cool with Travis and Hunter and them, but I didn't feel comfortable building my own bank. I've watched people do it. I see people talking about it all the time, but unless I feel comfortable entirely, I'm not going to do that, especially for that car. There's no way.
Well, that comes into the PowerHog thing. I'm not even plugging our own company here. He's got a 140 amp hour PowerHog bank he was just showing here. And it's the same thing. We assemble and can sell them for you. But if somebody wants to buy a DIY kit too, we sell the hardware in the kit case, whatever you want to buy. Yeah, he's got a pretty crazy setup going on his Tahoe.
Triple alts. So this one,
awesome.
This one runs mid to highs. This is the factory alt, and then I've got two 370 and 320.
Okay, so you got different regulators for the other two alternators, higher voltage, I'm guessing.
Right. So the stock, everything is left alone in the stock right now, just because I didn't want to run it high. I replaced a lot of sensors at 16 volts, but this is the lithium here. It's the 140 amp hour of LTO.
Nice.
Pretty cool, man. And then my baby.
So going back to it, I was
clean.
thinking about it. Kip was actually teasing yesterday. I'm hoping that they actually do come through and do the Kicker standalone key product, DSP. And I would totally buy one, slide it right off into the hog pan.
Doesn't the QS make one already?
I don't think it's a standalone. I don't think it's a standalone.
Only with the QS amps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Q1000.1 and I think their 4-channel that they have as well. It's got the DSP, but like you said, you want the standalone where you plug in the RCAs and
my own
you
amps.
got your EQ or whatever, and it just does it itself. Yeah, I mean, if you watch Kip, he winks, but that wink is a wink for a reason.
Oh, I
we'll
completely
put it that
understand.
way.
Yeah,
right.
Now he keeps winking at those big amps. What's your speculation on big amp? What do you think?
I know too much. That's the problem.
Dang. Did you sign a disclosure in NDR?
Yes, I signed the NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Yes, but big things are coming. That's as much as I can say. And Kicker is going to be coming back swinging hard, and people are going to jump on the bandwagon. But it's okay. It's okay.
If the new subs were out now, I'd be running those instead of what I'm running.
Dude,
yeah, they're a little behind on that.
My plan failed. I was going to get Andy in here.
You said, right?
I was going to talk to Andy for 40 minutes, and I was going to get him to spill the beans, okay? And no.
Yeah, you brought me here.
Shoot. Like, interrogation failed. So I got Vega here. I lean towards LiPo4 because it's easier to integrate into a regular setup, and you get more amp hour per dollar, even though the C isn't as great at LCO sales. And I can completely agree with that, man. It really depends on what are you wanting to do with it, and are you wanting to upgrade your charging system and stuff like that, man? And obviously, if you're not doing 5,000 watts up, 10,000 watts RMS, something like that can supplement your system and increase the voltage exponentially, and then get the performance you want out of it. I like the LiPo 4 stuff also, and even the Snap-on stuff, our Snap-on tools, it's LiPo 4, and it's pretty cool. And I've got and I've had good luck with it, dude. I've got now they even have like a 300 charge rating on like a 14.4 volt battery, like 300 times is supposed to be like all it's done. And I've got certain customers, and some of mine are like batteries from 2015, 2014 that I've charged countless times and killed completely dead countless times, and they're still fine. So, I mean, I like the LiPo 4.
I've heard good things about them, for sure.
For sure. So where do you foresee Cookie Monster going, buddy? Where does the future for that bad boy? Are you going to do a different build? Are you doing anything along those lines? What's the plan?
Well, when the L7Xs come out, I'm definitely going to probably throw some into Kayla's car. That build that you posted up earlier with the two L7s, probably just going to replace that with either two 12s or a single 15, and then we'll see. But probably at the time, probably just run two of the CX 1800s. Those are the 2 ohm stable versions too, and I have them each wired at 1. So would a CXA 1800, like the 1 ohm stable, do as much power being wired at 1? Because it's technically a 2 ohm. They're both technically 2 ohm boards, but with the technology they have, I guess they buffed up a couple things so you can run it at 1 ohm. It's not going to make any more power at 1 ohm and 2 ohm, not that much.
Well, the cool thing on that is, though, and I think especially when it comes to daily base, especially something like this where you're putting in your wife's car, and it's got nothing to do with the wife, could be your son, daughter, somebody starting out. I'm not always about wiring an amplifier as low as you can go, even if it's for a subwoofer load. I bet you those amplifiers can run all day long with your wife being full tilt boogie, and it's going to be perfectly fine. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you can go on a road trip, whatever you want to do, and just tilt the knob all as far as you want to, and it's going to just not even break a sweat. You know what I mean? I'm sure she probably does rock out looking at that side.
Oh, yeah. They stay pretty cool, surprisingly, and so does the coil. And it's kind of almost, yes, I don't have the best electrical in there. It's okay, just 2 AGMs. But I'm not really demanding too much from the amplifier because it's an amplifier that'll do way more power than you need for those subs. And then the subs stay pretty cool too because they're getting more clean power. You're not going to be tending to clip as much because you're not overdriving the amplifier. So everything's kind of happier with that kind of setup. It kind of just worked out really well. Obviously, you have to watch out for mechanical limit. I'm in a 0.8 cube foot box on each sub of those. So
is it sealed or ported?
That's sealed.
Okay, thought so.
Yeah, I had a ported in there. It was the prefab ported, and it did a 48.9, and it was a little less efficient. But the sealed box, I just put that in there because you can actually use the trunk still.
That sounds amazing,
tiny.
Too.
It works. It's real. You can't play 25 hertz to 60 hertz full tilt, but it on a half tone or 3/4 tilt, you can play pretty much everything. Now full tilt, you're kind of limited because of the power. You're kind of limited to about 47 to 51 hertz. Anything below that, you're going to reach mechanical limit. It's really pushing those subs to the ultimate limit in a sealed enclosure that size. It
looks tight. And if you blow one, you have to tap the radiator.
Right. That's actually a truck box I got off my buddy. He was like, "Hey, I'm selling this for $10, man. Do you want it?" I'm like, "Sure, bring it over." And I just cut it out and put squares in it, and it works.
I like that Vega brought up about the KX amps and they do great, and they do great on D's testing. Not only A, did I see that. Dude, I freaking love those KX amps. The first time I saw those was at the Monster Customs open house, Casey, the one for their in-house store, and they had a display there of those KX amplifiers. And they're all powered up, the lights on them, everything. This was 2 years ago or a year ago, and I was like, my goodness, these are some good-looking amplifiers. And from my understanding, they're unobtainium right now. Can you even get the KX right now or no?
At a third-party Crutchfield or local stereo shop, they're third-party dealers. At Stillwater, nope, not one.
I'm sure. Kip was saying the other day, or not Kip, John Myers was telling me there was 3 amps there or something like that.
They're running out the KX line. I think they started that in 2016. So 4 years on one model of an amplifier is about average if you look back at their other products that they had. They didn't run the ZR for right. So, but they have bigger things coming and better things coming. I wish I could say more, but bigger subs, bigger amplifiers. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. The what do you think's to come? If you had, so we can't bring Andy in. And I'm thinking, I don't think we're going to see another Warhorse. I don't think we're going to see a 10K. I bet a 5,000 watt RMS amp or maybe even like a 7,500. It was in the ball pill. If you had to make a speculation, Casey, what would it be?
It's hard to say, man. It's like
Yeah.
they're so unpredictable. I don't know.
Right.
Touche.
Whatever it is going to be super reliable and work.
Heck
What
yeah,
is-
they changed a few things here and there. I'll say that much. They changed a few things here and there, and going better routes and more routes. I'll say that. And
I can see a 4,000
you're
watt.
not too far off.
Maybe a 4,000 watt, a 5,000 watt, something like that. Maybe not too over the top. If they did, that would be amazing. That's what we all want to see. Everyone who's watching and everyone who likes Kicker wants to see like a giant crazy amp, but I don't know.
I exactly hope. Yeah, I hope it. I mean, the Warhorse at the time obviously was an insane amplifier, still is, but it's like two defibrillators in there pretty much. Hopefully it gets. You know, it's going to be musical. You and I both know it's going to be musical. So we don't have to go on with that too long. Casey, so we started off the stream. We started talking about. I was talking about some of the products that I had with Kicker. Andy did his early setups, and we've touched base on like your solo setup before, stuff like that. What's some Kicker stuff you bought and experience you've had with it, man?
I've had a CVX in a mold hatch. It was amazing. I went from a CVR to that CVX. I noticed the difference. I mean, it's crazy, man. And I think it was actually on an Alpine MRP 500. It's like no power to it, but I heard you talk about that earlier when I was in the green room.
Did you sell that amp to Cameron or no? I think I ended up with it. Yeah, I bought that amp. Yeah.
They bought a lot of my old audio equipment.
Yeah.
Did you say the Alpine MRP 500
Mm-hmm.
amp? Yeah, I got two sitting right here. I got a
Oh,
ton
yeah?
of them. Oh, yeah.
They're great amps. dude.
Those are awesome, dude. I love those things.
Missing
Every
the edges,
caps.
but they're always gone.
Yeah, every time I see one pop up like that family pop up on Facebook, I'm like, if it's a 500, I'm probably gonna buy it. But there's never 500.
Right, and they're sought out after amps. I've had one. That's actually the second or third one I've had. I had one back in the day too. They're just awesome amps. I mean, they do more than 500 RMS to 2. You can wire them down to 1 and get like 7, 8, 900 watts out of it.
Sure.
It's just crazy.
I was doing it at the time, and actually, I'll be straight now. I probably was undervolting it. Wiring mine to 1.0 actually was the downfall to it. So, and my brother was I got it from Cameron, and I was borrowing it, and so I had it wired to 1, and it took it for months. But if I had to guess now, looking back at it, I probably undervolted it or something like that and killed it. But Fuse didn't fix that bad boy when she let out the ghost smoke. But great amps.
I've had CBRs, comp RTs. The shallow subs are amazing. No one talks about the Kicker shallow subs. They're amazing.
I've never
like
had
mine.
one.
I'm in a
Tell
truck
me.
box tube. They're insane. I have so many customers going around with comp RTs right now. I actually have 2 comp RTs on the shelf over there in the corner. See them?
Oh, yeah.
In the corner.
Heck yeah.
We always
Right
keep them
in
in
the
stock.
Blackbird
Always
box.
keep that thing on me, you know? Get a truck coming in, you know?
Yeah, it's
Right.
like, here you go.
Yeah.
Isn't the mounting depth like 3 or 4 inches too? It's like
Like
something.
nothing, yeah. They fit in all kinds of applications, man. You put them in whatever airspace you want. It sounds good.
Put it under the
Right.
seat. It's fine.
I can put them in this filing cabin right here. Probably sound all right.
Yeah, right.
It's ridiculous.
I've
Yeah.
had some bosses. They were free literally out of a dumpster. Me and my buddy went dumpster diving. I grabbed the bosses. He grabbed the JLs. The JLs were blown. The bosses still worked, so I had the bosses. But they were shallow mount, and they were okay. You put any kind of real power to them, man, they were screaming. It's like, but I traded them for the Kenwood touchscreen that I got. So hey, I am not complaining.
Vega, if you do the T2500, make sure you get the ones with those crazy SMD VU meters. It's the second gen one. So if you do the first gen one, no VU. Second gen has the VU meters, and I wouldn't even look at buying one because they go like $100 difference, $150 difference. Get the SMDs, the output meters on it. But yeah, I kind of lose my interest on the RF product after the 06 series when they went overseas. I didn't mean there's side jack on there.
No,
But-
you're good. Yeah, that's crazy. I liked Rockford Fosgate too, man. I used to have the P2s, the dust caps that would always crack if you touched them too hard. Those kind of
The
ones.
carbon fiber looking ones.
Yeah, They sounded good though. They were the thing back then. I had that before kicker too.
Yeah, see,
So-
my dad was Atlanta Rockford rep 96 to like '07. And then that's what I grew up in. My mom had a S10 Blazer. It had the Rockford fold-out DVD-1 DVD screen. And it was like right when Shrek the movie came out. I remember we watched that like nobody's business. And she had, and I'm going to touch back because I'm glad you said it had Lightning Audio strike components and two P215s in a sealed fiberglass box on a Lightning Audio Storm amplifier. So my dad being the Atlanta rep for Rockford, obviously he did Lightning Audio also, other than the Bolt series on Walmart and stuff. What was that Lightning Audio sub you said you had earlier?
That was the Bolt one, the Walmart 10.
Yeah, the yellow guy.
It was silver. It was I don't know if
gotcha.
it was the older. It was silver. This was back 2005,
Mhm.
2006 or something like
Yeah,
that.
the later ones were silver. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had my first. I had the Fast and the Furious edition Bolt Red, and it had the Bolt subwoofer. They were F&F models too, and I'm like, I am doing it. A lot of people didn't know though. So once you got out of the Bolt line, the Strike and Storm. Also, we lost Casey. He's on Wi-Fi. The Strike and the Storm line is TC Sounds rebranded, sold through Rockford. And the amplifiers, even if they say they were designed in Temple, Arizona, they were obviously overseas when Rockford was still in the U.S. But look, my dog is sneaking up on the bed behind me over there. I'm just going to leave it be right now. But yeah, the Lightning Audio stuff was good stuff, man. The Strike, I have a Lightning Audio Strike VC210. That was like their mid-tier dual voice coil subwoofer. And dude, that's my go-to for like 3 years. Temporary subwoofer box. So like if I take an install out or I blow a sub or I'm changing setups, I just throw the VC2 in the prefab box in and just whatever amp I'm using and just hook it up to it. It's going to be fine. But the Storm series subs, man, they were insane. They the Storm X2s and X1s, they're like a crazy subwoofer. But the Bolt series, man, that's what killed it for them. They're getting them as a Walmart sub, and then they were just went downhill. And look at the amount of feed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. That's the thing with the whole Walmart thing and kicker Walmart, and it's like a lot of brands do go down that road. I know Rob did an episode with Kip and Derek talking about that, and where they pretty much said that they didn't want the tail wagging the dog, where Walmart saying, hey, you gotta cut your profit down, or you gotta
to make it at a price point.
Right, and that's where they came in, because they got introduced to them before that. They tried to approach them before that, and they told them no. And then I guess later down the road, they were like, well, okay, we'll do it. And that's the problem, though. But at the same time, it's like Kicker's known for being that sub that you don't even know what speakers are. And you said, oh, wow, would you look at that? You got some nice kickers in your car. And here they're like Dole or American Bass or something,
Sure.
So it's like that well-known brand already. And that's why half the time you get a lot of bullcrap. People are, kicker's junk. Because a lot of people are trying. A lot of people are using it. A lot of people are failing at it
Bad
too.
installs.
Right. And it's like, come on.
And that's
man.
what people talk about the same thing with the Scar Audio stuff. Like, oh man, dude, more of those failures are not a user error than not. And the kicker stuff's the same way. And the funny part is, I honestly never, and I'm really being dead serious right now, I never saw it even as a bad thing that it was sold at Walmart. I saw it as like hey, this brand is so freaking reliable that they're selling it at every store across the United States. Now, and you got to take it as a grain of salt as it is too. Like, I was smart enough to know, even as a younger gentleman, that hey, like in some point there wasn't internet, but for the most part of my life, even at 29 now, I had internet once I was old enough to be in the car audio for the most part, or going on YouTube looking that stuff up. I could easily tell back then if I went to kicker.com and I saw that comp as the very first entry level line, I'm like, okay, cool. This is where it starts. Okay. Like, this isn't like, their nicest stuff they have for a reason. That's why it's at the price point. And It's not even Kicker that did that, like Rockford in the Best Buy stuff. So like all your 90s punch amps. So like you'll have like they have different, the one with the numeric labels or whichever one is, there's backwards for it. They have specific models just for Best Buy, and it doesn't always mean that it's cut components and as far as stuff like that, but it's not just the Kicker brand that's had to meet price point stuff for other things. And I just saw here where Vega posted they made a lot of killer subs. Yeah, they did Eclipse subs, Subfire, Lightning. Yeah, they did some cool stuff, and they were actually pretty innovative on the drop-in recones. But yeah, man, I always thought it was a good thing it was sold at Walmart. I'm like, this is some reliable stuff that is sold everywhere.
Right, and that's the thing. Like you said, they're only selling their entry-level equipment. No one's going to come in there looking for a Q Class 15, and if they are, they're probably going to go to the stereo shop down the road, or they're going to order it online. So,
for sure.
But I think it's cool, you know what I mean? Because it's like even though that they're a bigger brand and they are a more expensive product out there, the name and the reliability and everything else you pay for, they still kind of keep up with the prices at Walmart with the subwoofers they have. A little bit higher price in the RMS. If you look at the RMS, it's like, oh, well, I'll just buy this dual. This is going to be so much better. But in reality, it's about the same, but then the kicker could handle more or it could sound better in certain ways. But it's just, it's a hit or miss. It really is. It depends what you're really trying to get. Just like any build. You know, it all depends your goals. It really does.
Speaking of build goals,
you see this, Andy?
Casey wants some of these
Beautiful.
so bad for his build.
I don't even care what they sound like. I'll put them in like a window box. I'll just roll my window down, have this eyes glowing. I've been looking for these for so long.
Bosses.
Tell
I
me
remember seeing those.
You ever seen?
I remember seeing those, yeah. That's pretty
think
funny.
that-
We'll have to do a show on one day.
like
and
novelty, like
not
almost-
exactly. That's
they
exactly
were
what I'm
dead
going
serious. I
from.
think Boss was dead
Marketing
serious about the
gimmicks.
speakers. They're like, this is gonna be great. You sound great. It's gonna be great. But no, it's novelty. Like,
And it's not going to be talking bad about companies. We need to cover marketing gimmicks and car audio from the past. So,
Yeah.
We'll just call it peak power.
peak power. Yes, watts max.
man, that was the Wild West, man.
Yeah.
Holy
The-
crap.
Yeah,
Well,
did you hear Kicker's getting rid of their peak power ratings on all their DX and CX line?
For sure.
Good.
And,
Because it's not helping them, I guess. But I get the idea of it because, you know, the generic person coming to buy an amplifier, they want to see all the watts, thinking
You
that they're
know-
going to get, because I thought that.
that made me
I
think
did.
the same thing too. Oh, for sure. Yeah, starting out, and then B, I've seen Dean from 5 Star talk about it. You know, I saw Kip talk about it. It's, you know, it's the same thing. Yes, that customer coming in the shop, they're just seeing watts max, and it's gonna be that guy. And I'm not gonna say it's nothing negative about it. I've been there too, but they're like, I've got a 500 watt amp, and you know, I've got these speakers. What's best? And you're like, well, okay, you need to give me a little more information on what amplifier we're talking about here. Are we talking about RMS, peak power? What are we doing?
Right.
And then it markets to them. But I think we live in an era now of it. Like, for instance, dude, look at like Big D, how insanely influential. As soon as you get in the car stereo, like that's what got me back into it. Like I was a huge enthusiast for a long time. I got out of it, did other hobbies, stuff like that. Started watching Big D dyno videos, and I'm kind of like, okay, these even in my head before, like, you know, I know all of us have sat there and thought about it. Like, you ever had an amplifier beat? You're like, I know I'm getting more power than what it's rated out of this thing. You're like, this is putting these watts out, and then you get an
Yeah.
AMM1 or something like that, and you're like, oh, never mind. I didn't realize.
250
4,000.
watts never
Yeah.
sounded so good.
I would have put $1,000 on my T4000 did 5K RMS at whatever ohm load you wanted to look at it, and then I got it. It's
Yeah.
like 1,600 watts at 6 ohms, and I was like,
Yeah, almost 7.
almost 7 ohms. Yeah, and that's what I tell so many people. They're like, oh, don't flex, you know, like you got nice stuff. I'm like, dude, I know. I'm telling you, save your $450 once you get your install done, and buy you an AMM1 and stuff like that. You'll realize so many things with enclosures and what realistic what happens with your power and your impedance and all that
Box
stuff. Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah.
If
That
I hear
whole
somebody
thing
tell me,
What did it
Sorry.
do? 5,200 or something like that? When
Come
it dropped down to like, it dropped under 1 ohm. It dropped under.
yeah, we got it. It dropped to
Like
like
split
0.27 ohms or something like that, and did like 5,022
Yeah,
watts. Yeah,
for
on
like a
music. Yeah,
split second. Yeah, we
But-
had the
Jesus.
on dyno mode, and it just like
Yeah.
it's just the highest that you clamp.
Yeah, like dynamic or something like that.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we took in. We had just gotten the AMM1. We put a brace in my 415 no wall setup, and we had a buddy with us. We had his DB meter, had the AMM1. We're like driving around Atlanta, and we found this like random hood gas station. We're just outside, just doing burps, and like nobody messed with us, man. Like we had a bunch of people looking and stuff, but nobody fooled with us.
It all depends where you're at. If people mess with you, man, or if they got anything to do during the day. If they don't, they'll pick a fight with you.
We'll do some cool stories on that. So, Amy, you've been a base head for a while. Where do you have to go to your secret disclosed location? Is there any like special base area you got to go? Anything like that?
Walmart.
Okay.
Walmart parking lot now.
Mm-hmm.
I had a nice spot technically if I really wanted to, but it was all the way out in the middle of nowhere, and I just kind of lost that location because that was the Team SP Loud location I had for 2 to 3 years. But literally, I go up to Walmart because at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., especially during the pandemic, no one's there. It's closed, you know, and it's away from enough houses, and I'm not that loud. Now, if I was doing 160s, yeah, I probably wouldn't do it there at that time of the day. So, plus my score is always louder at night. You know, that cooler air always helps.
We're coming up on that 1 hour mark, but there's 2 instances I have to share before we end this show. And this is old Casey here. So we've got going to the demo spots. We just finished his wall setup. So he had the FIs.
Like 2 a.m.
Yeah. So we're like both times like 2 a.m. demo. So first time is a Goodwill up the road. It's closed. It's like literally down in a hole. It's like an embankment, all four corners down to this hole with this Goodwill.
Huge part.
Like, yeah. So like we're demoing there. It's the first time he's hooked up with Crescendo 17K, and dude, this sucker blew like 2,000 amps of fusing in like under a half of a demo song. So we're sitting here trying to figure this thing out. We're bumping at like 2 a.m. Apparently had multiple cop calls. And so the thing is, there's this Goodwill down a hole, and like the road like circles around the building before you can actually get in the parking lot. So we saw the cops coming from like hot minute away. We just kept working on this stuff, pulling fuses out of it. So that was one experience, and the cops are cool. We showed them, hey, we got this. We're testing it. We're trying to be respectful here. The funny one is the next time Casey and I went out, Casey's like, dude, I got this demo spot. You've got to come check it out. We're gonna do some Crescendo 17K testing like tonight. All right, cool. So he's got his stuff going, and same thing happens. Okay, so this time instead of fuses blowing, we blew one of Casey's subs. It's actually, if you watch the only video I have online of his SP4 pluses, doing the demos, it's actually the video it ended because a sub died. I just stopped it. Yeah, but she let out the smoke. But
it was crazy. It was the first time I full tilted, and I'm talking 18 hertz is violent. But it turns out the spider landing wasn't actually attached, so it was like when under full excursion, it was like flexing, and the coil was rubbing against it, and that's also what was blowing the fuses. But it just it rubbed a hole into the coil, you know.
Yeah.
Dead short. But so we had the sub failure. We're behind this church has this huge like gravel parking lot that goes on, and then it goes back to woods for like 100 yards. We're back there. The sub just blows. We're going, crap, this sucks. He's like, I can't believe this just happened. Well, we see a cop pulling into. We're like, there goes this. So like we get out of the car, before the cop even pulls up, and we're like letting literally the smoke out of the car or whatever. And like in case he's like, the cop gets out of the car, he's like, yeah, I guess I know why you're here. Like randomly, like a serial killer. Like, then the cop's like, not really. I'm actually just patrolling. And then you guys are here. And so he's like, just check out this. He's like, yeah, we got a big stereo. We're testing it out. And he's like, well, let's hear it. And he's like, well, no, actually, no, we just blew us up with it.
You don't smell that?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I smell it.
Yeah, you see all that smoke? Come on, man.
Yeah, it's dead. But luckily, both times we didn't get any noise ordinance, and luckily they said nobody called the cops on that. He was actually just
cool. Now we have a really good spot. A few minutes.
It's a good spot.
A really good spot.
Yeah, see, the cops really don't care. It just comes down to if they get a phone call, they'll come out, and then they got to cite you if you don't turn it down, even when it's in the middle of the day, man. I have that problem all the time, and running the car audio shows between the Mecca and the Team SP Loud, it's really hard to find a spot for long.
You're doing
eventually Mecca? Yeah, I'm a certified Mecca judge. I do that. Yeah, I just started that this year. We had our first show back in April. Now we're going to have one this Sunday, actually, down at, I don't know if you ever heard of him, Team Nuts. Ed Nuttall, Pittsburgh area. He used to be a Mecca judge back in the day, too. He has a car audio shop, and he's hosting the show for us there. And they're trying to bounce around. It's between me and Kevin Mayo now. He's another judge too. He just started this year as well, but he's on Team Imperial. So
I always start with Mecca. Every time I go to a show and Mecca's there, I love Mecca. The guys are always great. You know how like some places you go, you ask questions like they expect you already know, but Mecca they kind of like walk you through what's going on, and it's like, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this, and you're like, okay, and they're like, what class do you want to enter? And they explain the differences. It's really cool, especially for
sounds like a good Mecca show.
Right. It's like for the new guy coming in and you want to compete and maybe throw stuff on the meter, never done it before, like that. It's nerve wracking. You get up there and you're shaking. You're like, oh, what do I do? And
right.
They do it. You guys are great.
Right. That's why I kind of have my Team SP Loud shows in a format of Mecca. So whenever you come to Team SP Loud and you don't know what the heck you're doing, you get unlimited runs within reason. And the price is cheaper, obviously. But then I will tell you, okay, well, here's my classes. But if you want to do Mecca, you would just have to stay under this power or this and that. This would put you into a modified street or a modified class, yada, yada. So it's like a breeding ground for Mecca for the guys that want to compete bigger. And that's kind of why they brought me on board, because I was running the Team SP Loud, doing the darn thing, just not Mecca. So just step up, I guess, or step down. Depends which way you look at it. But I enjoy both. So, hey, it's fun. Helping the guys get louder one step at a time, either way.
No, I like it, man. It's a good influence on it. Those guys starting out, and then You know how much of a pain it is the butt. That's why I like yours. And I honestly did not know that was your own thing. By the way, I did not know that. But it's cool to have somebody that's got a meter. It's going to let you do your sweeps and all that stuff. You know, these local shows, stuff like that. These guys would be like, you got 2 burps, $40, or 3 burps, and you're like, dude, I just got this install in. I haven't done any sweeps yet. I don't know what my peak frequency is. Like, you're going to make me count this. It's not even in my line behind me yet. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to make me count my burp as this, bro? And then,
you're telling me I can't find my peak right now?
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to do a sweep. Give me 10 seconds, I'll buy you a hot dog over there, whatever.
Yeah, but, come on, man. It's very cutthroat. It's cutthroat. It's a competition, and that's the way you have to look at it. And that's out there.
Yeah, the other side of the coin is very true.
No, for sure. But I mean, like, there's that league for those guys that's learning and finding out about stuff.
Right.
Heck yeah, dude. That's why I don't want to quit doing it. Even though I was doing the Mecca, I don't want to stop doing the Team SP Loud because that's where people really learn, and that's where you're going to get new bass heads. Sure. People that just started out or they don't even know that they're going to be into car audio. Countless neighbors of mine, friends of mine, now they're competing or they're on other teams and stuff like that, and they got bigger systems than me, and it's like, there you go. Yeah. You're welcome. But I like doing it. I really do. So, heck yeah. Man.
That's cool, man. He's going to be a slam, I think.
Nice. Let's all meet up and demo each other's cars.
Heck yeah. Oh, yeah, about Slamology, I have bad news.
Not going?
No, I was going. My plan was going. I found out that Kicker is not. Yep. And I was still gonna go, but I was like, well, I've never been to Kicker. We've been planning to make a trip to go down to Stillwater, and it's kind of like one or the other plus vacation. Oh, wow. So I love going to Slamology, man, but it's like
if you've done it, go to the Kicker place, man.
Right. That's the plan. And that's the thing, too, with that little car. If I'm going to Slamology and there's not going to be a big Kicker tent I can park under, I'm going to need to trailer it so I can fit a tent because you can't put nothing in that darn car. You got like one suitcase. That's
now, luckily, there you go. Vegas says when you're in Stillwater, holla. But
I will, bro.
I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, well, Casey kind of did himself. He can fit like 2 lawn chairs and a cooler in his truck now, and I can fit, luckily, a cooler and a lawn chair now.
Oh, but damn, cool. You're that close. Cool. Awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. No, yeah, that'd be all. Y'all need to have like a meetup video. That'd be cool, man. I would watch that one. So we're going on an hour and 10 minutes. Is there what are you working on? We're going to steal that straight from the other guys. Anything, what you got going on for Living Loud with Andy coming up?
Well, got some more amp test videos, obviously, but I have one, and I'm probably going to do it this week coming up. Did you ever drive down the street and open your rear window, only your rear window, and then did you ever hear, Did you ever meter that?
No.
I did.
I bet you it's 128 dB, depending on 128.
Louder.
142.
No, close. 137 with my dad's car, and every vehicle's different, so I'm probably going to do a couple different vehicles to do it, and speed is a factor, but it's still all 16, 17 hertz.
That's hilarious. I never even thought about it that way. And it's a windy boy, bro.
Oh, yeah, dude.
That's a whole other one.
Dude, that is hilarious. I've never even thought about metering that. It's amazing.
The one that surprised me was like the other day I saw where Big D closes. Somebody did a thing for the old school SPL shootout and like slammed the door. It was over 120 dB. I was like, didn't think about that.
You, Scott?
Loud, bro.
Not even loud. I'm not loud. Never be loud.
Me either. I don't even have subs. So.
There will always be someone louder than you.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I want to be really musical. As long as I can do like 25 to 60 hertz within like 3 dB, I don't give a crap.
Right. Well, I want 6th order, 4th order bad. I mean, I know there's time delay and all that kind of stuff, but I want that high frequency to low frequency. I play 13 hertz to 38 in Cookie Monster. It's not very, I mean, it's wide, but it's low. So you don't really get that punch or whatever, the high frequency. And then Kayla's build, it's all high frequency. So I have one or the other. It's like I got to sit in both cars. So Casey's I definitely want a bigger build.
Dude, those 18s, the SP4 pluses, wasn't it, Casey? What those subs were? That was he was doing like 15 hertz to like 50, like in the blink of an eye. And it's like from wind to like hurting your chest. And I've never experienced, I was tooting his own horn. It's insane.
That's on that 17K you have?
Yeah,
The crescendo, yeah.
Drew Jones designed that box, and I have not had to change anything on it. It just like, right out, I didn't even have a roof at the time. My roof was flexing like crazy. So I just tried to test it out. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I got some ZB6s coming, some 18. Hopefully before Slam.
Yeah, I seen those are coming out. I knew he was in the making of making those.
I just
Jacob.
want the Mega Roll, dude.
Yeah.
That Mega Roll looks tight.
Yeah, the 10-inch one.
60
massive
millimeter
motor.
X-Max. Like, come on, dude.
It's nuts.
It's nothing like the ZV6, but as Kate said, we actually have some 10s that are in prototype that are pretty thick.
Yeah, we got some crazy stuff coming.
Yeah.
They're coming, dude. Yeah, we have like a 550 subs coming. It's gonna be pretty insane, but they're not ZV6s on that level. But cool. So we're coming up on an hour and 10 minutes right here. I don't want to take it on too long. Andy, I greatly appreciate you and your time, buddy. Casey, I'm glad you were able to chime in, buddy. And we'll have to do this again, man. Like I'll give yourself and then Vegas probably still hear it. You guys open invite. We're doing this weekly. And I appreciate you guys' time. It was a fun episode. I had a good time going over it with you guys, and I appreciate it, man. We're going to go ahead and just go ahead and end this bad boy. And that's you need, guys. Hit us up. I do genuinely appreciate y'all.
Peace out. Thanks again, Andy.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem. Episode